Everybody, welcome to the Hill. I am super excited to be bringing you guys a special edition of Tech Tuesday. If you know my channel or anything at all, you've seen our Tech Tuesday series that we ran for a while. It kind of comes and goes with projects, you know. But we're gonna do a special edition of Tech Tuesday. I have the biggest names in RC chassis fabrication because they're not all rock bouncers. Okay, I got one special guest that's going to hang on towards the end there, and he is a brilliant chassis fabricator, both one-to-one size and RC. But I think that we can all learn something from all motorsports. So, it's definitely an honor to have him with us today. Let's see. So, without further ado, we're going to start that list of fabricators with none other than Addictive Racing. That's right. Okay, good. Yeah, I got it right, Mr. Travis Vance. What is going on, man? How you holding out with all this craziness?
Doing good right now. Man, it just seems like it's getting crazier and crazier. We're all biting at the bullet, ready to go race.
Yep. Amen. So happy to see some people still out there getting seat time in and stuff like that. Mr. Trip Pullen, thank you so much for joining, sir. That is awesome. We had Bobby Tanner in last night, so this is getting to be a big deal. Okay, so tell us about Addictive Chassis. Like, how did you even get into this, man? I mean, you just started, right?
With the RC chassis. I mean, honestly, I just started, at the end of last year. I picked up on the RC stuff just from a couple of local friends. We just kind of done some little rock crawling and stuff. And I come in contact with you on Facebook, started seeing that, you were running races and stuff. And I was like, well, I want to get into that because I've been into 1-1 races. I've enjoyed it, loved it for years.
That's going to be a whole nother episode, Travis. We're going to pick Travis Vance's brain as far as rock bouncer chassis goes one day. Trust me.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a lot cheaper to stay in the RC aspect to an extent.
Yes, sir. You ain't kidding. So up on the screen here, we just got some pictures of some of your chassis. What do you want to say about them, man? I mean, what do you try to set out to do? This last one's beautiful. I got it paused up there. Tell us about your chassis.
Honestly, man, I just, I decided to come home after coming to finals and looking it over at a couple of the Hobach chassis and a couple other of the chassis there. And I was like, I want to get into building them, make a little extra money to support my RC habit because it definitely gets expensive after a little while.
Yep, you ain't kidding.
And so I come home, pick me up some 3/16 round stock and kind of just drew me something out on a metal table and kind of traced it out and laid it out and started tagging it up and going from there.
Yep. Now, you use the conventional like Wraith or Bomber skid, right?
Yes. I'm actually getting ready to step out and start doing some SCX10 skids as well. Okay. I've got some here in the future to build, so yep. I think those are going to be more for the crawler aspect, but sure. I could be wrong.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Now, do you use the skid for your suspension geometry and all that stuff, like suspension tabs and you know what I mean?
I do most of the time, yes. Okay. Because a lot of people like to be able to just bolt the cage up and go with it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't get into the geometry and
it's already done for you. Yep.
Yeah.
Done for you. Absolutely.
It's already set up on the skid. You bolt the skid to the chassis, bolt your shocks up, and
yep,
go bash on it.
Yep. Let's see. Colby Johnson, tell us how you love spending the same amount of time on an RC chassis as you do the real chassis.
Man, I'll tell you what. It is actually more tedious on the RC chassis because I can build a 1-1 buggy and I can have a bar a quarter inch off and you'll never see it. If I'm an eighth inch off on an RC chassis, it stands out bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It really amazed me. Like my first chassis I built for myself, just kind of threw it together. I tacked everything up and I looked at it and I was like, my God, what did I do?
It was that far off.
And I mean, the bad thing is there was a couple bars eighth inch off, and I didn't think it was that bad. But after sitting back and actually looking at it, I was like, man, you can tell that bad.
Yeah.
So, of course, along the way, I learned a few tricks and trades and on building the RC chassis and keeping the sides the same to make it easy for panels and stuff like that.
Sure. Absolutely. Let's see. Ryan McCord, thank you for joining, sir. Kobe Johnson, SCX10 was always easier for me to get the size correct. Let's see. John Lancaster, how are you, sir? Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Trip Pullen says he's got Cash LaCroix building him one. The old Cash is going to start cranking him out here. We're going to have him on the Chassis Builders episode part 2.
That's right.
The struggle is real. Mr. Clyde Bynum watching with us. Welcome, sir. Thank you. Still waiting on final word for the rest of our season here, and obviously that's going to affect us all. But that's not slowing you guys down, right? I mean, if you're home, you're building chassis, right? So if anybody wants to get a chassis from Addictive, how do they go about doing that?
Best way is to contact me on Facebook. I did make a Facebook page. It's Addictive Racing RC Chassis.
Yep. Join the group for sure. It's growing every day.
Join the group.
Yep.
I try to put pictures up of each build. I try to change, something in each build unless just somebody wants an identical build.
Yep. Which you've done before. You built the Rookie of the Year's chassis, the smoked out replica.
Yes.
Yep. So it's definitely doable. Brooks Myers joining us. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Jesse Stark, welcome. Good deal, man. Anything else? Anything we missed?
No, not anything I could think of we missed. We could go over a few things like how the builds start, kind of let people get an idea. I mean,
yep.
I have people that do contact me that want ideas on how to build their own chassis.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's pretty awesome because, if somebody wants to throw their fingers in the fire and go at it, it's pretty awesome to do. So
that's what I did, man. Same deal. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, I like being able to show up and somebody be like, "Who built that?" Well, that was me. And
absolutely.
It's definitely awesome to say that you built your own stuff. And of course, some people are too busy with life or, financial problems. So, and I understand that.
Yep.
But the easiest way, and I'm going to switch my phone over here and kind of put you on my build table. That way you can kind of see how I start out with most of my chassis.
Okay.
But like if you can kind of see my outline on the table,
mm-hmm.
I'll outline my chassis, get my bends correct, my rows, and start like that. I'll build the whole side, and I'll trace all my sides out.
Yep.
And then whenever I can duplicate both sides, and it makes a lot easier. I fabricated my own bender.
Yep, got one of those. Definitely recommend it.
So
that's the other thing too. Is Addictive doesn't just do chassis. Those tools come in handy, boy. If you want to try it yourself.
Yeah. If you need a bender, holler at us definitely. And I mean, like I even made like just a little cheap roller.
Yep, nice for those.
3 bearings.
Yeah, for those radius bends. Nice.
Yes, and I mean it's cheap stuff that a lot of people don't think about, and it's pretty easy to build if you can weld and pick you up some V groove bearings off of line.
Shoot. Yeah.
You know,
Too easy.
that's what I built my roller out of. My bender's made out of V groove bearings, and
Yep.
it definitely helps.
For sure.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ryan Ramsey, thank you for joining, sir. Zachary Oliver says, I'm going to have Travis building me 2 cages, 2 chassis. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, I've been talking to Zachary for a little while now, and
Yep. Good deal.
so
Yep. 33 people watching. Wow, 37. That's the most I've ever had. So thank you all, chassis builders, bringing me all the viewers. This is great. Well,
awesome.
so we're just at about, 15 minutes. Again, trying to keep this so we can get everybody in. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
No, man, that's really about all I can think of right now. And of course, I'll stay watching. And if anybody's got any questions for me,
yeah, please do. Yes, stay on, because I can almost guarantee somebody's going to think of something, and we'll ask for sure. So
yeah, and if anybody later on you got a question about something, touch base with me on Facebook. So.
Yep. Don't hesitate, man. All of these guys are salt of the earth. They're just the best guys, and they will go out of their way to help for sure. Jonathan Wright, Black Dog Photography, thank you for joining, sir. But all right, well, I appreciate it, Travis. And
yes, sir, definitely.
Stay tuned with us, all right?
Yeah, definitely will, man.
All right, we'll talk to you very soon.
All right, see you, buddy.
Yep. All right, guys, give me just a second here. I'm going to bring in our next fabricator. This gentleman was in that area of the country that got hit by some tornadoes just recently. Man, I drove through on my way to Windrock, and the damage was pretty sufficient. It was pretty bad. Not sufficient. It's silly. I don't know why I would say that. Travis, thank you for joining, sir. Michael Lloyd Hibbert, thank you for joining. All right, y'all. So I'm going to bring in our next fabricator. I would say he is probably tied for the most experience in RC rock bouncing. An organized RC rock bouncing. I would say that there isn't anybody that has been to more races than the Hobachs. So thank you so much, Justin, for joining us today. And your helper there, shop foreman. Dad's the boss. Shop foreman right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. He decided that there wasn't going to be a video going on that she wasn't going to be in. So.
Heck yeah, man. Hey, so I don't know if you're watching there, but I've got a lot of footage from the 2019 season, starting right out in Texas, man. Your first foray into chassis building for RCs, right? Because Hobach Racing also does a side-by-side racing, and y'all build your own chassis for that as well.
Yep.
So not just RC chassis fab. You, like I said earlier, this is y'all. Most of you have your hands in one-to-one something, whether it's side-by-sides, actual rock bouncers, desert racing buggies, whatever. The whole gamut in this arena today. So it's very, very cool. Ryan Rodriguez says, daughters are always the boss. You are absolutely right, Ryan. Absolutely right. Michael Lord Hibbert, thanks for keeping these videos going during these crazy times. Yes, sir. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. My pleasure. So, this we're watching the first chassis that Hobach Racing built, and it's an IFS buggy. You guys built a Yeti based bouncer right off the bat. What did you think of that? You haven't built one since, so.
Well, I didn't really know what to expect going into that. That was all around the time that the whole NRRA thing started up, and Clyde and you said that you were going to have the thing, and my experience with building things was with the Razor buggy. So naturally, I wanted to build something that looked like my Razor buggy, and so I wanted something that was IFS just because the Razor buggy, is independent, and I wanted it to look similar to that. So Colton had an old Yeti that was beat to crap. It didn't have much left of it at all, and I didn't really know where to start. So he said, "Here, take this and build one out of this." So not knowing any better, I took it and got it all put together and built it out of it, and it was kind of a headache for the first several races trying to get it to go where I wanted it to go. I just with the Yeti front end geometry, never could get it to act how I wanted it to. Never could get it to steer where I wanted it to. Just really couldn't keep it under control in a race. I mean, when it didn't matter, you would get lucky sometimes, but when it really did matter, I never had any luck with it. So, I think I got the podium at Windrock with it, but, I got lucky. And I wanted something that was more consistent and, that I could actually drive and not just hope for the good luck, a little bit of both. So, I got rid of that and went down the path to building one after another last year.
Yeah, you did. We're watching Wildcat, and you had the orange buggy, but you also built the big block replica buggy that we're going to see a comeback to here pretty soon. Mr. Beck kind of already let that cat out of the bag, or maybe even Colton did too. I think we talked about it a couple of episodes ago. But so not only are you building Hobach specific designs, you're also doing replicas.
Yeah, a few replicas.
Most famous, and probably my favorite, is the Menace replica that we saw at King of the Hammers.
Yeah, we got
that nice. Yeah. And hey, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because any RC folks are going to look at that front end and say, that's not a Yeti, that's not a Rock Ray, that's not a,
Yeah. So last summer, me and Colton got these bashers and tried to drive you crazy with them as much as we can. What I noticed about those bashers, though, the Armas, is that they were tough, very hard to tear up. Even, every time me and Colton were driving one, it's not in a race atmosphere, so we really didn't care. We just wanted to see what the dumbest thing we could do with it. The things are just insanely tough, the Armas are. So, and I started noticing that I could control it, and the geometry was right, and ever since we messed with those bashers last summer, I had been wanting to build an IFS out of Arma front end, and had it in the back of my head since last summer, messing around with those Armas, and just been thinking it through and all that kind of stuff. And then Timmy came out with the Menace, and I said, well, here we go, bingo.
Yeah.
It's time. And then with the Armas, they got upper and lower front suspension arms, whereas the Yeti doesn't. Like I already said, I didn't like the Yeti geometry. The Armas got upper and lower arms just like the actual Menace does. So I ordered a Arma steering rack and an Arma front diff, and I went ahead and ordered the Arma arms, even though I knew those weren't going to be the ones I was going to use. They were only like $10, so I just ordered some to have something to go off of and build a little jig off of them. And then the arms were too long, so I just shrank those down to the width I needed to make it match the AR-60 rear axle. So I just figured out what I needed to do to make that match up and built my arms for the Arma front end and put it all together. Honestly, it was put together at like midnight before King of Hammers, and we were leaving at like 6 a.m. And I'm going to take it with me because I'm going, but I don't expect this to last very long. And it hasn't broke yet.
Nope. I didn't see any issues. I loved watching it in action, man.
So today, actually, in the backyard, I always break everything in the backyard because that's just how it works. I broke just a cheap Chinese trailing arm on it. So
the trailing arm, though, you know?
It's just a cheap Chinese one that was like $10 on eBay.
Yeah.
So that finally broke, and that's the first thing that's broke on the Menace. So I've had it a couple months now and just been playing with it. It's actually drivable. It actually does well. I got a couple little hills in my backyard, and I have climbed those hills more times with the Menace than I have with my actual race mounter. So
could we see a change? Are we going to see a change?
I don't know. The Menace still, I don't have the confidence in it to put it in a race just yet, but it's getting there. It's about to get a whole new makeover. Like I said, it was put together at midnight before leaving to go to King of Hammers, and I haven't really changed much. Well, I'm about to go ahead and add the sway bars to it because I never got around to that. It needs that, and then I got a new rear axle coming for it, a super shafty axle. So just got that deal worked out today and got the new super shafty SS60 coming for the rear. So
rear steer?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's able to have the rear steer. So
yep.
I'm probably not going to put rear steer on it until I can get the new Shift X2 servo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Seems like, believe it or not, the rear takes way more of a beating than the front end just from going up in the air and then coming back down on the rear end.
On it. Yep.
So the rear takes a beating. So until I get an X2 servo to put on the rear from Shift R, I'm not going to put
Which they are pre-ordering, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Pre-order opened up on that this weekend, I think.
Good. We're watching the Dale detour footage right now. It'll be a little delay on your side, but that was a fun buggy. That wasn't a chassis you built, right? But that was just a kind of a tribute to man himself.
Yeah, that was after I sold the what's now called the Copperhead buggy.
Yep.
Robert, he gave it a name, and I like that name, so that's what we'll call it, the Copperhead buggy.
Yep.
So after I sold that, I had that Wraith sitting around. That was actually a Wraith, and it had and I had put trailing arms on it, and it was doing really well. It was my daily basher, just go out and not care about and bash with every day, and it was doing well. I knew I could drive it better than I could drive the Copperhead. So
yeah, good call.
I didn't really like the way it looked at all, a Wraith, and I was like, I can't show up at the next race with a Wraith. I mean, I can't go from a bouncer to a Wraith, so what am I going to do? And I got on eBay and spent $40 on that body and painted it up and put it over the top. Now I got a rock bouncer. So
it was epic. Everybody loved that thing, man. Where did what ended up? You still have that?
No, ended up with a guy in Texas. He bought it. So
wow. Okay. I'm surprised Dale didn't hit you up with that for that.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get that new bouncer going.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, good call. He'll hit you up for that. So, what you are extremely busy. We haven't even talked about your new skids yet. Like, what? Let's cover that real quick, and then how people can get one of your chassis.
Okay. Well, the new skids. I've been working on this since probably last July. Around I don't go by months. I go by races. So around the flat nasty race is when I first kind of working on this skid, and then by the by the one in September, Rush Springs, I had machined myself out of plastic a skid that was pretty much the same as this. It didn't look as good because it wasn't CNC machined, but I manually machined out one of these out of plastic, and I ran that at Rush Springs, and that kind of got the ball rolling into getting them CNC machined and all that kind of stuff. So over the next few months, I got with a guy to machine them for me, and I sent him the one that I made and told him, what I wanted, and he made me one, sent it back to me. We made a few changes, whatnot, and just talking with people and some of the other racers and stuff like that. What we need to do to make the ultimate skid. We thought of things like making clearance for bankless trailing arms, where the screw sticks out on bankless trailing arms. Robert Tabor brought that up. Different racers and builders brought up different things. If you're going to do it this way.
That's what I love about this community, man.
Yeah, so we there was really no way to run leading arms before this without either building a custom chassis or there was a few 3D printed skids and stuff like that. So I'll be able to run leading arms with the proper geometry. So we took the rear bomber geometry and we duplicated that onto the factory specs 100. And then everybody, puts a SCX transmission in their bomber anyway. So we set this up for an SCX transmission for an adapter plate. And the idea that I had since my first skid is I put that transmission there where it reverses the direction of the rear. That way it's spinning opposite from the front and your whole chassis doesn't want to torque. Yep. So they're impacting each other.
Yep.
That eliminates all the torque twists as long as your front tires are on the ground. Now if you start getting on a really steep hill where your front tires are not on the ground anymore, they can't counteract the rear, so it will start twisting at that point if you don't have a sway bar. So for the reason, I still run a rear sway bar. I don't run a front, and it's got an insane amount of flex to it. And
I really like where the sway bar is in the new skid too, where it's real low. I like that. It's real out of the way. It doesn't take up much room. It's awesome.
Yeah. And then you don't need a mount for your sway bar on your chassis. You don't have to think about that. That's always been kind of a headache, incorporating a sway bar into it. If you didn't do it, then some people try to put it on the rear axle. I've tried that. That works, but it's real simple and it can just go right there and it's completely out of the way. I run a really sway bar. It's not near as stiff as what I would run if I didn't have the transfer case to eliminate the torque twist. So that lets me get a lot more flex over the road, stuff like that. Whereas without that, I'd have to run a really hard to counteract that torque twist.
I know that transfer case has been a huge hit in our community this year. So, I'm excited to see a bunch of them together, and see how people drive them and
how
it comes together.
I thought people would be more interested in the skid itself, the skid with the transfer case, and I actually sold out of transfer cases and can't get any more for a couple of weeks. But every was in America.
Yeah.
I do a modification to them to make them fit. Yeah. But I bought up everyone that was in America, and now I'm sold out. So I've got plenty of skids right now, but no transfer cases for a few weeks. So.
Yeah. Well. Right now, we all have to be very, very, very patient. Yeah, for sure. So if they want a skid or if they want a chassis or whatever, how can we get a hold of Hobach Racing?
Just send me a message on Facebook, and
Okay.
we talked about it. I got a couple chassis lined up. Got one project that I'm working on right now that's pretty big and unique. And when I say big, it's literally big. It's a 1/4 scale rock bouncer. So.
Dang. Yeah, Mr. Beck says that he's waiting in anticipation for his. Ron Rodriguez can't wait for mine. So definitely got some um, people that are looking forward to getting their Hobach racing chassis or skids. Well, good deal, man. Is there anything else that we missed? Anything else you want to talk about? Anybody you want to thank? Sponsors? Anything like that?
Thanks, Shift RCs. You know, they were our first sponsor to come on board. The first one to ever step up with a rock bouncer servo, rock bouncer servo.
Yep.
Scared to put my servo on a rock bouncer. Go ahead, do whatever you want to do. Break it, I'll fix it. Whatever. No questions asked. Where it, said, well, you got that on a rock bouncer, so not covered. But
all right.
It's been behind them ever since, continuously improving them. We got the X2 coming. It just blows me away. I've ripped the Vanquish servo mount out of my Vanquish axle twice now with the X2. And
that's awesome.
And then OT6 Racing, the Voodoo tires, U4s, all that. Can't wait for the USD stickies. We've just been watching the mailbox waiting on those. So those are good.
I hear you, man.
I got no.
Hey, we all gotta do. We all gotta do Matt a favor and just let it happen, because it's not. If Matt had his way, I'm sure he would have the tires by now.
Oh, yeah.
So we gotta. I see Matt catching flack about people not getting their tires yet, and it's like, well, look what's going on in the world right now, man. Matt is not holding the process up on his, you know what I mean, to be mean to us. He wants us to have the tires too, so we got to be patient.
Yeah, but I'd love to have him out there, and he's wanting them out there more than anybody else. And I have the feeling it took me a long time to get my skids, out on the market. And all. It's a long process to develop an RC part, and I got crazy respect for any RC manufacturers out there.
Brother. I have so much respect for you guys. That are like, we need this, and I'm gonna make it, and that's why you're here right now. That's why you're, sitting on the pedestal today, because I want all y'all. You're at the forefront. You're the tip of the spear, and So, well, I really appreciate you joining us, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank your shop foreman for us, and we will be in touch very, very soon, brother.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks, man. All right, guys. That was Mr. Justin Hobach. Let's get to our next contestant. You guys might have seen him if you watch our live show at all. He was on with us just recently. And so I am not even gonna mess around. I am just gonna bring in the one, the only, Mr. Sean Keller. How are you, sir?
What's up? Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good. Welcome back. Sean was with us last night. We did the bow down reveal, along with some, more or less re-revealing the 2020, the Keller RC Performance 2020 race rigs, and a new video from Keller RC Performance. Head over to their YouTube channel. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. All of our builders today too. I want to make sure we mention that for all of y'all. But let me just see if there's anything we need to get caught up on. A bunch of people watching. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Dwayne Gibson, most recently. Jose, thank you for joining, sir. Trenton, all y'all. Thank you very much. Sean, I can't. We had 10 or 20 people last time. Yesterday, we've been hovering right around 20 today, so I'm pretty excited, man. That's a
Yeah.
big change. Hey, so right now up on the screen, we've just got some footage of your 2020 rigs. We talked a lot about them yesterday, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, man. What can you tell us about the Keller performance?
Uh,
What's your process, man? Let's go through it.
well, how does it start? We we like to start off with the raised skid plate. For our race chassis, we cut it right after the transmission mounts and after the third hole, and we like to build our own rear mounts so we can run the trailing arms straight. Because if you know anything about the race skid, you're gonna have the bottom rear links all angled weird, and that's not how you want your trailing arms. So along with that, we found an easier way to mount it to the skid plate in general, which is used 949 design mounts and just, put it on that way. We usually start off by doing the frame, and then we'll get the mid cab set up, and from there we go to the front end, get the front end dialed in, and then to the back. One of our biggest questions that we get is, how do we bend our rod? And I'll show you. A lot of people use benders, but, I guess you can call us
down buggy. We did quite a little intro to it yesterday. Again, beautiful work, beautiful lines, proven suspension. Brandon is just crushing the series up there in the Pacific Northwest. So.
He's a tough one to beat.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Jason Eldridge, welcome, sir. Yes, Skinny Pedal Racing in the house.
There's plenty of times building that we don't like something, and we'll chop it up like 3 times before we end up liking what we look.
You did that with Bow Down, yeah. I remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Plenty of times.
Yep. So, and like I said yesterday, I gave y'all creative control.
Right.
It's your chassis. I want it to be the way you want it because I came to you for a reason.
Right.
So, and the same goes for like the Hobach chassis. I was gifted a Hobach chassis for 2019. And I have a Hobach skid because they're designed to work together. So it's
which reminds me, if someone was to get a race if someone was to get a race chassis, we like to build our own rear trusses to help with the rear upper link angle to help push the chassis down for better traction. Okay. That's just something we like.
Now, is that an extra added charge? It's not.
It would be.
Okay.
It would be, but it's not necessary. It's just an extra step.
Yeah, but if you're wanting to be competitive, that's what you all are using, and that's what you all are winning with. So
that's what
you don't need to have it, no. But is it proven? Yep, absolutely.
And a lot of people probably have noticed the rear shock angle. I know I went over it last night, but I'm gonna kind of go over it again a little bit.
Nope, absolutely.
It's kind of like the front end angle with the front shocks. You're hitting something full force. They're angled towards what you're hitting, taking a lot of the force. And if your rear's hitting next after your front bounces up, and in our head, it only makes sense to have the rear angled the same way to take up a lot of the impact. But at the same time, we didn't want to have it too stiff or too springy because having all that impact, of course, it's going to want to come back out. You don't want too much spring because you're going to bounce up too hard and go probably head over heels if you hit hard enough. So there's a fine line, but what we've done with the rear shocks, they've been proven a little bit.
Yep.
That's for sure.
And that's mostly new for the end of last year into this year, correct? That shock angle?
No, we've had 2 races only. We started it this year.
Okay.
That's why I'd say it's somewhat proven because we've only raced twice. We haven't had too much time, but so far so good.
But I mean, y'all are driving. You all are, getting out.
Yeah, we're driving.
Yeah, so it's not like you're not. It's not like you're bench racing where you're just saying, well, this should work. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, good deal. Well,
a lot
good.
Of trial and error.
Yeah, what else, man? Get on over. Like I said, get on over to Keller RC Performance. Get your Keller RC swag. And unfortunately, with everything that's going on in the world, we probably won't see a racing anytime soon. Soon, I say, like within the next 30 days. Hopefully, things start to turn around. But, definitely get out in the woods, man. And we love watching the Keller buggies in action. So, like we talked about earlier, that video that y'all dropped just yesterday after we got off the live feed, so they're always putting out new videos and so
definitely look for seeing some new videos coming out.
And if Brandon's listening, I haven't forgotten about you, sir. You're next. I don't care how social you want to be. If I have to fly up there and do a live feed, there. That's what we're
he
going to
has
do.
a lot of information that I forget about that he can put out there if he chooses to. Yeah, he's the brains.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but he's the brains.
Yeah. Good deal, man. Well, is there anything else? Any
No,
final
just check
thoughts?
us out. Keller RC Performance on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Teesprings.
Yep. Get your, I'm going to have to get on there. I think you're the only team that I don't have a shirt for or something.
Yeah, it's somewhat new, so I mean, yeah, you're going to get one, don't you worry.
Okay. Good deal. Well, all right, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We will talk to you very soon.
Yep. Talk to you later, man.
Yep. See you. All right, guys. Moving right on. We have also seen this gentleman recently. I had him on last week. And if we were revealing the new buggy yesterday with Keller RC Performance, on Friday we had Mr. Sam Duvay on with us, and we ended up putting the standard buggy to bed, if you will. Can y'all hear that ringing, or is that just coming in my headphones? I hope it's just coming in my headphones. But anyway, one thing to consider, Sam does work extremely early hours, and it is pushing 10 o'clock over there, so we may have lost Sam. But if we can't get Sam, please go and check out the episode from Friday. We had a great time. We went for like an hour and a half, I think. So it was a good time here. I just want to make sure that we get plenty of light for later here. So we're going to move on here because I'm pretty sure that Sam is asleep. If he does get back to me, then we will bring him back on. But that doesn't mean we can't keep the show rolling here. So who I have next is a new friend of mine, but I have been watching his stuff for a long time. I'm a big fan of innovation, and I use that word a lot, and I'm not a very smart man. I try to surround myself with guys that are much, much smarter than me so I can learn from them. It doesn't take much, but all of these guys that have been on the show today are brilliant fabricators. They're not just putting metal together and welding, brazing, whatever. They are designing things to work right. You heard Justin talking about, getting information from several of the top drivers in the world, in the country for sure, because we do have a national series now. So we're definitely seeing the growth of the sport happen because we are taking information from all angles and helping grow the sport. In the one-to-one world, that happens as well. We're using in rock bouncing, we're using triple bypass shocks. They use that on trophy trucks. They use that on Ultra 4 cars. They're universally used in any extreme application, off-road application. So I feel it's important to make sure that we're looking at all avenues when we're trying to design our suspensions because we want them to work. Like I've used Metal Concepts rear axles in my buggies before because they're straight beef. They're big, they're bulky, they're beefy, right? We use a lot of the same suspension components across the board. Okay, so my guest now, and potentially my last guest, is his name's Wyatt, and he is from Weasel Motorsports. Say hello, Wyatt.
Hello.
Again, Wyatt is, kind of new to the rock racing scene, but I do have word that he's got a couple of projects in the making. So we're excited to see what you come up with. Wyatt, if you're watching, you'll see some of your stuff scrolling across the screen there. The floor is yours, brother. You tell me if you'd like to pause this. I can put it on a loop and just kind of let everybody take it all in. But some beautiful work you got on the table there. Talk about it, man.
Yeah, so I build trophy trucks, which is kind of the same to you guys that are rock bouncers, but a little bit of a different twist on I go fast in the desert and you guys go fast uphill.
Yep.
Pretty much in a sense, but in front of me, I guess I'll just kind of introduce these. This is my main truck. This is a full built trophy truck, so it actually doesn't have what they call a chassis plate or something that a person would buy aftermarket and kind of build off of. I build fully from scratch, which that way it gives me 100% the ability to design my suspension to how I want it and get a chassis almost as perfect as how I want it. So I can go out and hit the roads I want to hit and be able to have a chassis perform the way I want it to. Where if I were to use like an Axial Yeti or a low C Baja Ray, or they have a rock one, I'm limited to what I can do with that chassis. Where this, I've gone ahead and kind of basically built my own front suspension. So I have a feature with a actual true center mount setup, which hasn't been done really before. And the back, of course, is a standard 4-link with a metal 4 complex axle. I can't trust anything else because it breaks on me. Because, I mean, these things are over 13 pounds and traveling at speeds and hitting rocks. So it does a lot of wear on these chassis. So that's that one. This one's my current build. It's a 1966 F100. This one's sponsored by Proline Racing. It's actually supposed to be on display at their booth for the Proline by the Fire event that's supposed to happen in May. But with the whole world shut down right now, we're kind of hoping that it does get canceled. But who knows? With this whole outlook, it might get canceled. But I'm still building it. I'm still in the works. I have more parts coming in for it. I have some big things planned for this setup. Of course, it's a little different than like you guys with the IFS or solid axle front ends. I actually am building a custom twin I-beam style, which is kind of an older style that they ran on other trucks.
I've got it blown up on the screen. Why you'll get to see in just a second. Yeah. So I mean, dude, who builds an I-beam suspension for an RC, man? I mean, that is just nuts, and that's what I love about Wyatt is this kind of stuff right here.
Yeah, I kind of every time I build a chassis or race prep a chassis, I'm always trying to find something to change or something to make it better. Because I want to be able to go out and know nothing's going to fail. Even though something's going to fail because, that's racing. But I want to be able to kind of innovate on every little thing I can. And there's sometimes where I'll literally cut the back of my chassis off and rebuild it because one little thing's not right. I mean, you could build a chassis completely perfect. There's a balance between, strength and packaging. But even the perfect chassis, they're not going to be perfect if you can't drive them the way you want to, So you got to kind of learn when to start over and say, I don't like this. I'm going to change it and build it the way I want to. And that's what I've kind of done with this chassis. I've pretty much rebuilt the whole back half to what I've designed after learning kind of with every run I do, what the truck wants to do, how when it crashes too, designing stress points and points where the cage won't hold in on itself, so certain impact zones, it's not going to twist or bend the cage. Because you got to remember, these trucks are traveling over 60, 70 miles per hour, and if they crash, they're going to roll for a while. So you got to make sure that you're building your work to the top.
Yep, that's no joke, man. We don't have that problem per se. a lot of our let's see, James Sockrider, audio is low. Turn down our music. I'm hearing Wyatt fine. Anybody else having a hard time hearing Wyatt, or me for that matter? Yeah, so we will take tumbles down hills, but we don't have, not the same kind of, what you guys are talking about for sure. You're talking about a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
Your Rex.
Triangulation is key in this. Building a cage that has perfect triangulation and making sure that there's no open spots, because a square shape isn't going to perform well as, a triangulated cage will, because each spot you can design that's inherently stronger, for absorbing loads from any direction. You can design it to take, I'm going to be getting, if I'm going to get top impacts, I can design the triangulation of the cab piece. So when the truck rolls, it's going to take less stress out of these bends because it's got these bends and these rods coming in. It's little things like that a lot of people, you can build a chassis, or you can go ahead and buy, steel and go ahead and make a bolt-on, but actually making it perform like you want it to do and know it's going to hold up, that's where it gets real.
Yep, for sure. No doubt about it. Now, talk to me about those beautiful control arms, man. Now, I know that it's, it's the chassis builders episode, but we gotta talk about, all the components that you make, because like you said, you don't just buy stuff off the shelf, you make it all.
Yeah, I can't. I wanted to have a chassis that would. My kind of dream, in a sense, was to be able to take a chassis I've built and go down a quarter-mile road and let it fully open and just watch it glide across surfaces. That was kind of a dream of mine to see if I could accomplish. So I couldn't really rely on anyone else's components. I basically had to start fresh. And what that led me to was, well, a uniball front end. Let's do it like the full size. So I got a hold. Luckily, my father, who builds one-to-one scale pre-runners for a living, and occasionally some trophy truck work here and there, I've been able to kind of learn and adapt that knowledge into the RC knowledge and be able to come up with a center mount front end. And it is a little challenging because, the reference for not all things scale down, well, it starts to come into play here, because, you try to get unibolts that are, got a 3 mil inlet, they're 10 millimeters wide. One roll and a few passes, it puts a lot of stress on those, and you'll wear those things out pretty fast. So it's fun, but, you got to kind of figure out your weak points, and you start basically building everything yourself. I think the electronics are probably the only thing that I bought, and the shocks, besides the ones that I'm designing right now.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Can we talk about that at all?
I can say a little bit, because I'm coming up with a newer design to be able to have, I'll just say, quote unquote, it's an internally bypass shock. That's all I can really say right now, but
can we say who you're working with, or no? On that?
Not
yet. Okay. Yep.
We should hopefully know by the end of the month, I'm hoping, which is a few days, but probably mid-April, I'd say.
Okay.
If all goes well, because it's one thing to make a product, but then to productionize it. Is it worth?
Sure.
Is it, feasible to actually reproduce? Because having, the amount of components that are going to go into this, and you can't really put this stuff on a normal, truck or a rock bouncer. They're kind of designed to a chassis that you have to build, because, having, the bypass areas, you have to have the ride height set certainly for those shocks in order to have them work properly. So coming up with an idea that's more compatible for other people's, trucks, that's kind of where I'm at. But there is some big stuff in the works, and if I can make it happen, it's going to be pretty big.
Yep, that's awesome, man. Sean Keller says, secrets don't make friends. Yeah, I know. But we got to be...
Well, come out, I'll certainly get a pair over to you so you can do a review on them.
Oh, that's awesome. Heck yeah, man.
I know you've had like one photo. I had to show you one photo of kind of what they're based off of.
Yeah, that's all right. My lips are sealed, man. That's good. Michael Sharon, thank you for joining, sir. So we briefly talked about you getting into the rock. I don't want to say rock racing because you're not necessarily. You're building more of a crawler right now, or is it bomber-esque?
Yes and no. It's got speed built into it,
okay.
But it also has the crawling ability.
Yep.
Kind of right now at the point where I want to get the I-beam truck built and tested, so that's done. And I want to get the Gen 4 is currently waiting a new axle shaft because I was out doing suspension testing with new shocks, and I rolled the truck over 50 and it snapped a rear axle shaft completely. So you usually when you crash these things, you're going to break something.
Yep.
But
Anthony Garcia's secrets pay the bills. They do in this case. Dylan Patton, thank you for joining, sir. How are you? My good friend Dylan Patton from D Pat's Photography. John Shaw, thank you for joining. So are the chassis that you're working on, are they for customers or are they for you?
So currently the two you see in front of me are my personal ones.
Okay.
I'm in the works right now with this one's kind of like the big build right now because of it being with Proline and everything that they want to do with it. So that's kind of taking up my time. But when that's done, I do plan on actually start releasing some chassis. It's not going to be per se like a center mount front, true chassis because there's a lot of work and a lot of maintenance that goes into those. And you can't really, in this instance, you have to imagine scale stuff. So if you're jumping off a curb and the suspension fully droops, that's pretty big and full size. So these trucks are tuned for small stuff that would, scale up. So I can't really release this stuff yet because it's more or less really temperamental, but it's getting there. So I'd probably go off of like a low C chassis or maybe an axial, depending on what I feel like people are wanting. I know a lot of people are asking, can I get a chassis, because this is really different than what I feel like others are doing right now. I've put a lot of time and a lot of testing and design into each chassis so they actually perform as how they should.
Yep. Let's see. Dylan Patton, I'm upset. Old Rotten giving me troubles. What's wrong, man? What's it doing? Rotten is his rock bouncer. IFS car looks sweet. So, Dylan, this is Wyatt Thomas from Weasel Motorsports. He builds trophy trucks, one-to-one trophy trucks, but he also does the RC trophy trucks as well. Builds some sick chassis, so that's why he's on the chassis builders episode with us here. What are the chances we can drag you to a Rock Bouncer event this year if we have a season left? Is there any chance we can get you to fly in to maybe even finals too? That would be a good time.
It all kind of depends with how this whole world situation kind of unfolds. Proline is my number one right now,
sure.
So that with their stuff, I have to make sure I get that. But if it's not this year, I'm for sure next year. If I have it in kind of my schedule, I will for sure hopefully make it out with you guys and kind of experience that. And I'll even bring out one of the trophy truck chassis just to kind of show you my side of the desert,
of course. Yep.
Where you guys can kind of see it.
Yep.
But yeah,
Anthony Garcia says, "I can't wait to see it. I'm going to Proline by the Fire." So they just dropped an announcement saying that they haven't canceled it yet. So
yeah, I just talked to the guy who's actually putting it on, and he says so far we have the green light because right now the state says till May 3rd, and us being on the 15th and 16th, the town of Apple Valley hasn't shut down that yet. So we're just fingers crossed that nothing happens. But this will be, so if you want to see this truck, it will be revealed at their booth for the event, and there will be a live preview of the truck and a full build video and everything there, so you'll be able to get an up close look on how this is all done.
Heck yeah. Let's see. Dylan Patton, Anthony Garcia, the reason I want to build IFS now. IFS, I'm telling you, man, I hate to say it because I am definitely a solid axle guy, but it's taken over. Ryan Rodriguez says it's going to be on my dime that we fly out to a race, Wyatt. Ryan says he'll be at Proline by the Fire too. Ryan Rodriguez from Shift RC. Shift RCs, they're nasty rock bouncer servos. I mean, they're RC servos, but I call them rock bouncer servos. Sean Keller says plane tickets are cheap. They are. They're very cheap right now. Let's see. John mailed me our trail flags. So, but yeah, man. What else? Is there anything else that you wanna show us, talk to us about? If we want to build a trophy truck, how do we do that? What's the turnaround like for you?
It's a little different than what you guys kind of are used to, because you guys I'd say have a little bit more availability because you don't kind of build off of a body. You know, you get your wheelbase set up and you kind of build what you see or what you want to do.
Huge difference.
Yeah, for us guys, I'll start with a body that I like. So this one here, this is a axial retro body, which I prefer better off of the other ones because it's got more of a 70s and 80s flair to it, but with modern glass, you could say. And basically what we'll do with these is I'll go ahead and start with kind of the bulkhead for my chassis. So this one is a center mount. This was for a buddy of mine that I'm building as a display model of his 1-to-1 truck. And we'll start with building the bulkhead, and then once you got that kind of sorted out, you'll go ahead and bend up your A pillars and then your B pillars and kind of match all that together to where the lines are on the body, so you have a reference point. And later on, you kind of expand into, the cab portions and the motor mounts and all that. And I'm a little different. I don't use chassis plates and, run off. As I said, do all this. I think I sent Nick in a photo of, you can see where the engine sits with the turbo. It's all inside the actual transmission tunnels as they were to full size. And it's got all the parts in there are all machined fit, and all the bearings are pressed in. The bender I use, which is a little different than what you guys have, it's a true, I guess they're all the same in a sense, but this is a true manual bender.
Yep, I have one of those too.
Yeah,
I got like the first one or two of them when he was coming out with them, but
I think you sent me a photo. That's kind of what convinced me, because I use a vise on a lot of this stuff if I want to get the tight bends in with the cab, because doing this for so long, I can guess pretty close where the bends are going to be and how I want to pick them up. And I'll use the bender for doing the full A pillars, because each of the cages actually have a complete A pillar and B pillar through to the full size, because the more bends and cuts you have, the less strength the cage.
Absolutely.
You need to have those parts built into it.
Yep, that's like day one. I went through the chassis fabrication and high performance motors classes through Wyotech and stuff, and that's like day one. The more material you take out, the more you cut, the more that you're taking strength away from that material. So
yeah, I mean it's I've certainly taken, I'd say, the whole trophy truck thing in the RC, and I've kind of given it my own spin, and I'm still innovating. I have really big plans for what I want for my next big truck build. It's gonna be pretty insane. It's gonna feature more scale details, because I kind of figured out the suspension components. I mean, my main truck here, on the old tuning setup, I had it pretty much down. I could go through 4-inch loops at over 50 miles per hour, and you could watch the cab just float. And
awesome.
That was my final, okay, I'm finally at that point where I figured out my inner dampenings and kind of how I wanted the shock set up. And I even went as far as making my own inner piston rings before I started my own shocks. And even not only that, but the chassis has caster built into it where the bulkhead sits. So the bulkhead's raised by, I think it's around 6-8 degrees, which is, I've tested so many times and found out that like a 7.5 degree bend for my caster, that softens up the suspension for hitting some of the hard stuff really well. So there's a lot of things that you don't really see when you look at photos, but there's a lot of stuff built into these, and you gotta kind of think when all that comes in play. With the I-beam truck, people are like, where can we see photos and all that, but within one beam, you're figuring out your camber, kind of the caster, your kingpin degree, because you can have like a 0 to 8 degree offset that kind of simulates how you want your tires. I mean, there's all these stuff. We can go on and on, but there's everything built into it, and I want to make sure my chassis perform well and they're not going to fail. That's my biggest thing. I want to be able to say I can go out and bash on my trucks and they're not going to fail.
Yep.
But yeah,
absolutely. Let's see, Ryan Rodriguez, do you fab your own A-arms? Mr. Cashley Croy, thank you for joining, sir. We should have you on here on the next episode.
Each of the A-arms are fully machined out of billet aluminum. I have actually made the jigs and all that to do metal ones, but the weight would be insane already. I mean, these chassis are almost 14 pounds, and that would put a lot more stress on the components. And the trailing arms too, I've even made metal ones with inserted joints, but with me, and we're scooting over, stuff so fast, I snap time joints instantly. I will go out one path and I'll lose a trailing arm because I've blown a plastic contact. And I've looked at metal ones too, but those don't work, so I just stick with like the stock low-C setup, and that kind of gives it also some flexing into it. It allows the rubber not to take a beating towards the chassis, but the trailing. If that kind of makes sense, those are softer than metal, so it allows it to, it kind of dampens everything.
What about manufacturing your own trailing arms?
Again, if there was a large demand, and the one thing too is these things are, no one else has these kind of dimensions, I guess. I mean, these are the one of one chassis that are this insane in trophy truck realm, I'd like to say. But if I were really, I mean, there's some things that I could produce that would be sick, but I'm not sure if really it's necessary with everyone else out there. Mike at Metalcore Concepts, I mean, he right now, with his stuff, it's more or less more reliable to go for his stuff because, I mean, he's building some insane things. And I know he's out of stock on a lot, but I hope he kind of gets back all that stuff back in stock for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I need more axle shafts.
Yeah, for sure. Trust me. Good deal, man. Cedric, thank you for joining, sir. Well, what do you think? Is there anything else you want to show us or talk to us about?
I pretty much touched kind of what I can touch. I mean, I post a lot on morely Instagram, so if you want kind of a more inner look, I have a YouTube, but I'm learning how to do all that. I'm more of a builder driver than the whole Instagram thing, so learning that stuff. But I don't know, is there any questions you guys have, or Nick, do you have any that you might be wondering about?
Yeah.
I'm here.
Absolutely. Anybody got anything for Mr. Thomas here before we send him off? Been going for about an hour and a half. Man, I tell you what, these shows, I don't know if you've watched any of the episodes, Wyatt, but they go so fast because we just sit there and shoot the breeze, man, and it's like catching up with old friends, it goes so fast. And
well, I know you and I got stuff in the works too, but
yeah,
yeah,
we do. There's a reason why Wyatt's on here today, that's for darn sure, but we're going to keep that, again, more secrets. We're going to keep that a little tight-lipped for now, but trust me, there's going to be something IFS coming from RC Command and Weasel Motorsports, that's for sure. Maybe even FIS. Huh?
Yeah.
Anthony Garcia, ballpark size of the shocks you are designing. Uh, are they? Would you say that they're power stroke size? Big bore shocks.
Yeah, so they're going to be essentially for I'm only doing right now for the rear end because the fronts right now I've got the valving pretty much down on the front end, so really it's the rear end that need it the most. So they'll pretty much be this is a standard 5-inch Proline power stroke, and they're going to be this size.
Nice.
And magic that happens with the shock that's going to pretty much determine where you're going to set your chassis up.
Okay. What are you running up front in your IFS setup?
I'm running the front. So these are they call them the slash rear power strokes.
Okay.
But I put them on front because I have a ton of travel up here. And those, I will actually run a dual setup up front with my own other, I can't say of course, but I will run the other setup on the front also. But
Yep.
it's, I've also got different springs I'm coming up with because the accessibility for like the rear power strokes, of course, Proline only has, the two setups that come with it.
Yep.
Where the rear have a whole bag of stuff. So
nice.
I know Nick's been needing some different springs to kind of help his chassis out. So I'll make sure to get those also. But I have certain spring rates in the works too.
That's awesome.
To hopefully get accessibility.
That's awesome. We got to have a whole nother episode just for suspension tuning.
I could go on and on for hours.
Yep. No, that's all right though. That's all right. We will get there. Trust me, because I was talking to Greg from Raceline today. So we got 1-to-1 guys that want to come on, and so it's growing fast, and we'll definitely have all y'all back for episodes. Anthony Garcia says, "Send me PayPal info. I need springs." Anthony Garcia is he wears many hats in the RC rock bouncing many series. He's raced in Texas RC rock racing since the beginning. He's raced in several. He was in the top 10 for the national series last year. He's already raced. He raced in Texas this year in the national series. He's going up to New Hampshire for the Mountain Mud Run. So Anthony gets around. He's definitely he runs an IFS bomber. He runs a bomber with the Def Moto Garage kit. So definitely out of the box type, not the norm, and he's been very successful with it. So, but all right, man. Well, if that's all you got, I'm going to bid you adieu.
Yeah, I'm happy I was able to show you guys all that, and I think Proline and Desert Media, those are the two top supporters of what I'm doing right now, and I hope to hopefully get out. I do have some rock bouncer plans. I know Nick's been trying to get me to finally build something, so I got incorporating that hopefully by the end of this year, and so I'm kind of giving my trophy truck flair, but into the rock bouncing. And hopefully I'll be able to make it out.
Heck yeah, man. We got to get you somebody to bite on having Weasel Motorsports build them a bouncer, then they race it, and we see how, you know what I'm saying? And like, a guy that's racing in a legit series we're going to race 10 races this year, and send it out there and race it and see how it goes and fix whatever breaks or whatever. That's what we need to do for you.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gonna give it a trophy truckish flair. I mean, it's gonna be kind of something a little. It's gonna be like an Ultra 4 style, but being able to go up hills fast. That's kind of my plan.
Yep.
That's all I'm gonna say now. But I do have a lot of stuff that's kind of in the works. So once this build, there's a lot of numbers I got to figure out with the suspension on the twin I-beam.
Sure.
But once that's done, I'll be able to sit down and kind of start working on those and getting cages sent out to people. I'm going to start trying to finally build other stuff because I'm kind of at the point where I finally built enough stuff for me. I'm ready to start, giving people the opportunity to have at it.
That's awesome, man. That's great. We need more of that for sure. Well, good deal, brother. All right. I don't see anything else here. Well, I really appreciate you joining us, coming and hanging out with a bunch of rock bouncer guys. But we definitely enjoyed it. I think we all learned something. I think we will continue to learn from you, and we definitely are thankful for what you bring to the community for sure, and look forward to growing Weasel Motorsports. Weasel Motorsports growing with everybody. Desert Racing and Rock Bouncing, we all grow together. You know what I mean? So thank you very much.
I can't wait to finally get out there and meet some of you guys and finally get out to some races and show you guys what these chassis can do.
Yep, no doubt about it.
That's what it's all about.
Hit him up, guys. Weasel Motorsports. Definitely follow him on all his social media accounts, and hit him up if you have any questions. I know for a fact that just like we are right now, I mean, we could go on for hours just shooting the breeze, man. So, he loves this stuff just like we do. So, hit him up if you have any questions.
Hit me up on Instagram DMs, probably the best. The Facebook Messenger app I hate a little bit, with the pages. So if you just mostly Instagram, I'm on there, and I'll answer as much as I can. There's some things I can't really give away because it's my technology that I'm trying to, innovate, but I'll be able to help as much as I possibly can. Absolutely. I want to make sure that you guys are having fun, and if you, kind of want more of an inner look too, I can send you more photos or, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, Wyatt. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you very soon, dude.
Yeah.
Take it easy. All right, guys. Well, that is it. I think Mr. Sam Dubé passed out on us, so we're not going to get to hear from RC Fabricatory. But like I said, if you haven't already, go over to our Facebook page, YouTube, On the Hill with Nick and Friends, and check out Sam Dubé, and we have the Sean, the dang stoner, passed out on us. No, Sam's an electrician, and he gets started super early in the morning, and thank heavens he's still working right now. So, I don't blame him. But again, if you want to get your Sam Dubé and RC Fabricatory fix, just head on over to our YouTube channel and check him out. Anything else here? Anthony, I'm going to let you get on to enjoying that. Tommy Lee, thank you for joining, sir. Ryan Rodriguez, J Concept Penis Tires. Yeah, for the win. Yeah, Anthony loves those penis tires. Yes, sir. It's funny, I made a comment to somebody on Instagram, I think, and he responded that his wife came down into the shop or something not long after I made that comment, and she was walking by and she was just kind of like, "Oh, look, it looks like little penises on your RC tires there." So he immediately messaged me back and was like, "You're not the only one that thinks that the tread looks like little penises." So that's funny. All right, y'all. I'm going to wrap it up here, but thank you guys so much for joining me. We've had, upwards of 30 people joining us here, man. That's unbelievable support, growing every day. I don't know if you heard me mention, but talking to Greg from Raceline, going to be on the show here soon. So, it's growing every day, and, it's... the sky's the limit, man. Just like the race series is. There's no limit to what we're doing. I mention it every time, though. If there's anything else that you would like us to cover, if there's anything you'd like us to see, please send me a message on any of the social media platforms. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. Just a quick heads up. On top of Greg from Raceline, we are also going to have the series managers episode. Probably going to do that in a day or two here. We're going to have Curtis Hazard from King of the Mountain. We're going to have Ben Hume from Texas RC Rock Racing. John Metzger from North Texas. Mr. Beck, Jonathan Beck from Nitty Gritty, so we've got some big names as far as race managers, and I think that's going to be a good, I think that'll be a good show to kind of give the behind the scenes um, of what we do to put these shows on. So it's going to be a good time. So we'll see. We'll have that up in a couple of days. Until then, guys, thank you so much, and I will see you all on the hill very, very soon.